Hi, my name's Neil. Thanks for joining me and my cat for this video about skateboard decks. And today I'm going to be talking about a particular deck, one that I've got recently. I do kind of collect decks to hang on my wall, but also I buy ones that I think I might want to skate. You know, funny thing that. Sometimes when they arrive, they don't particularly look like it's something that I want to skate at the time, but you know, maybe I might want to in the future. I'm a bit picky about decks and the shape and just, you know, generally how they look and feel. So I don't skate popsicle decks. I generally skate slightly shaped decks, but not the kind of big old school fat ones. I generally skate something somewhere between a popsicle or a shaped deck. I think popsicle shapes are pretty boring and I like a bit of shape to them just for aesthetics. And I like them to be, you know, slightly on the wider side. So I've been skating for quite some time now, the Bucky Lasek deck by Powell Peralta. This is another brand new one I have. I kind of stockpiled a few because I really like them. It's a flight deck. It's 8.63 wide. It's got a 15-inch wheelbase. That's another key factor, is that I like 15-inch wheelbase boards. So I've been skating this one for quite some time. This, as well as the Steve Caballero 216 flight deck, which is his vert and pull board, which is wider. It's a 9-inch board at its widest point, but mostly it's kind of in the high-ish 8s. It's 9 inches kind of just around this area, and I think at the very tip of it, it's got a slightly fish tail in it, I think at the tip of the tail. So it's a 9, but just not through and through. So yeah, I've been skating these and I'm a big fan of the kind of 90s Powell Peralta era, because that's when I grew up skating, that kind of era. If you've seen my videos before, you'll know that one of my favorite decks that I had when I was younger was the Bucky Lasek Stadium deck. And as if by magic, I happen to have one here as well. So if you recognize that one, I've done a video about that when I finally managed to get hold of one. So this is another one of those ones where it's actually a duplicate, because I have got one hanging on my wall. I've got this one that I thought I might want to skate. And I think I've got another one as well. So yeah, I'm a bit of a hoarder. So yeah, the kind of 90s era when this kind of stuff was around, I think it's like 91. So kind of 89, 90, 91, 92. That was kind of my favorite time in skateboarding, when I was having the most fun. So that's where this is from. Now, in that time period as well, there was another skater on Powell Peralta called Mike Frazier, and he had this deck, and he was an awesome skater, just like Bucky Lasek, and actually still is, and so is Bucky. So they're both still skating amazingly. This was Mike's deck around that time. I never saw it in the shops at the time, but I did used to watch the Powell videos. And there's a really famous video part from one of the Powell videos. I forget which one it is. I think it's video 8. So it's the 8th video. I don't think it was Propaganda. Propaganda was before video 8. And I think it's video 8. He's got a really good vert session going on and the music's fantastic. So I'll show you a little clip of that just to remind you. But yeah, Mike was a ripper. And this was his deck at that time, which I bought one of those as well. Now, when I bought it, I kind of bought it with the intention of hanging it on the wall or just keeping it as a keepsake, like the Bucky Lasek. But when it arrived and I saw the shape, I thought it doesn't look too dissimilar to what I would actually like to skate. It's got a fairly square tail, which is what I like, you know, much like the Bucky Lasek. It's not too wide. I think it might be just over 9 inches wide. I don't have the exact specs right now, but I'll put them up on the screen for you to see. So it's not too wide. It's got a nice rounded nose that is not too kind of chiseled in. The Bucky is a bit too wide for my liking these days. It gets very wide at the kind of hip about here, and is verging on about 10 inches wide at that point. I think it's probably 9 point something. but it was a bit wide and it made the nose look a little bit more pointy than I like. And so I was thinking maybe it's a bit wide for me to skate. And I do remember when I was a kid with my original one, when boards started to get skinnier and popsicles came along, I did actually cut down my Bucky Lasek deck to a popsicle for some stupid reason. It was just the fashion at the time. But yeah, it's quite wide, whereas the Mike Frazier is a bit narrower. I don't know if laying it on top is going to really... No, I mean, it doesn't look like it at all. But it's shorter. So if I flip it over, it's shorter, and I think that makes it look a little bit more dumpy or chubby in that area, really. So was having kind of second thoughts about skating it. But what I did think I was going to do was take the modern Bucky Lasek deck and cut it down. Cut down the older Bucky Lasek design to kind of fit the shape of the new Bucky Lasek. So it'd be taking those kind of humps that I don't like, those chubby humps at the front there, taking those off, and a little bit at the tail where it's squarer. Could always leave it squarer. The problem is though, the board is a lot shorter. So look at that and that. It's shorter, and the pressing is shorter, so the concave doesn't match. I mean, it would be right back here, and then the nose would be a lot more aligned. I'll try and line that up so that it makes sense. But you know, if it's there, the concave matches, but then look at the rest of the deck, it's all out. So then you shift that one to where it matches. Doesn't really match, it's kind of out. So the concave and the shape of the Bucky Lasek is kind of all wrong to cut it around the newer shape model. I could still cut around it and see what it comes out like, but in general the wheelbase is shorter, so it's going to feel shorter. And if I cut it to a 15-inch wheelbase, it might just be weird, because the kind of rocker point here where the tail starts to go up and where the nose starts to go up is going to be wrong if I just extend them out. I mean, it's already got an extended drilling pattern to make the nose longer if you want to. But I just figure it might come out being all a bit weird. So yes, when the Mike Frazier arrived, I thought about the same idea. This is almost a skatable width for me. It just looks a little bit chubby for my liking, but you know, it's pretty skatable. So the fact that I've recently been skating the Steve Caballero, which I'll show you, got one here. I've been most recently skating the Steve Caballero, and it is this shape. So it is wider, it's got a squarer tail and a rounder nose, and actually it's not massively out of whack with the Mike Frazier. Let's see if I can line that up so you can see. It's just at the hip at the back there, it steeps in a bit, but width wise it's not that bad. So the fact that I've been most recently skating one of these might mean that actually this doesn't feel so weird to skate. Now, another side tangent is that I recently skated one of these, and I'll put a link to the video where I've actually took this deck and I cut it down. This was an 875 popsicle, but it's made on the same mold as the Bucky Lasek. So what I did, I took the Bucky Lasek and laid it over this one, which was an 875, and I cut it down. So this is now actually a Bucky Lasek deck with a different graphic. It's the exact same mold. So as you can see, it fits perfectly inside because it is the exact same mold. And these are 7-ply decks, whereas the Bucky is a flight deck. and you can't buy a 7-ply Bucky Lasek deck. So I effectively made one myself by cutting this 875, and these decks were really cheap as well. They were a Powell Peralta 7-ply maple, I think made in China, but it skated exactly like the Bucky Lasek. I hadn't actually skated a 7-ply deck for quite some time. I've only been skating the Bucky Lasek and the Steve Caballero, and they're both flight decks. And I actually managed to crack this 7-ply deck skating it by doing quite heavy frontside disasters and lip slides. So you can see, hopefully in the top here, you can see the crack through the top, and there are also stress cracks here in the bolt pattern where the bolts go in. So I didn't skate it for that long, but I now understand why people change their decks so often when they're skating 7-plies. I'd kind of forgotten because I hadn't skated a 7-ply for so long, but this probably only lasted a few months before I managed to crack it. So I now understand why people who skate 7-ply decks end up changing their decks every few months, because they just don't last, whereas the flight decks will last me 2 years. So that's a slight tangent, but it proved that cutting one down worked great. And so we move on. If I can put that there. The Mike Frazier isn't the same mold, but it's very close to the Bucky, as you can see. See that? It's actually got a very slightly steeper tail. And I've got the Bucky on top at the moment, but I'll switch them over. It's very slightly different concave as well, so it's very slightly steeper nose and tail. If I put the Mike Frazier on top, maybe it's a bit more obvious. You can see that because the deck's wider, it bows up further, so it looks steeper there, but the concave does match pretty well. And as you see there at the back, the tail is very slightly steeper, but if I kind of align it in the right point in the rocker of the, there you go, it matches pretty well. It's a pretty good fit. That actually might be workable. And width-wise, there is barely anything in it. If I can somehow, you see that very slightly wider? I think the bottom, yeah. See the bottom there? It's very slightly wider at various points. You know, there's really not much in it. At the widest point, probably 10 millimeters, which I don't know what that is, 1/4 of an inch. Not a lot. So I think I might cut down, rather than just skate this Mike Frazier as is, because I don't think I'll be very happy with it because of the kind of slightly chubbier sides. I think I'm going to trim it down to the same width as the Bucky. I might leave the nose profile and the tail profile kind of the same, because by trimming a bit off, it will tighten that up a bit anyway, and it will probably square the tail a little bit. I think the Mike Frazier tail is actually slightly squarer than the Bucky anyway. So I think, for fun, I'm gonna cut this one down just a little bit and skate it. It is a 7-ply. I presume it's a made in China, just like a lot of other decks are these days. In fact, most decks these days are made in China. But that's not a big deal. I don't care about that. I just think it may only last 3, 4, 5 months, like the other one that I cut down. And before anyone says it, cutting a deck down doesn't weaken it. All decks are cut from a bigger deck, so it's not going to be weaker because I've cut it down some more. That's just ridiculous talk. So yeah, that's not why it cracked. And it's not even that it's made in China that it cracked. Decks just crack. But yeah, I think I'm going to have a go with the Mike Frazier. So it's a bit of a show and tell video, really, just kind of showing you this deck that might be my next one. I do obviously have the Bucky Lasek deck. I think I've got 2 or 3 of these still, and I could just skate this because ultimately, you know, this is the one that I like the most. But having the exact same deck over and over again kind of gets a little bit boring, and I feel like I want to change things up very slightly, just even to have a different graphic every now and again. So I will continue and skate these. It's just that I like to change things up if I can, and I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit geeky and I quite enjoy making things and cutting things up and what have you. So I'm gonna probably give this one a go. So I hope you found the video mildly interesting, and let me know what you think in the comments if you think I'm nuts. I'm sure most of you think I've got too much time on my hands to be thinking about stuff like this. I haven't got too much time on my hands. I just make time for the things that I enjoy, which is 99% of the time is skateboarding, and the time when I'm not skating is usually because my legs hurt. So I take a break and I do some other things, and this is one of those things. So yeah, something of an update on where I'm at with the boards I'm riding. So thanks for watching. Tune in and subscribe if you want to see the result of the cut down. Might film the cut down because last time I did a cut down, somebody said it would have been nice to see the process. I'm only going to be trimming a bit off the sides with the jigsaw, but I might film a bit of it just because that person wanted to see it. So until then, thanks for watching. I will see you again soon. Take care.